Hey everybody, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. I hope everyone's having a good Saturday wherever you are. It might be Sunday already in some parts of the world. Anyhow, a couple of months ago, I did a video called Fitness or Fatness, Are Heavyweight Boxers Ripping Fans Off? And I'll actually put some sort of link at the end of this video into that one so people can see my original thinking. So there might be a little bit of repetitiveness here, but hopefully not too much. But it's a subject I've been spending a little bit more time thinking about, and that is, you know, this literal and figurative growth of heavyweight boxers who seem to be, within the last 20 years or so, obsessed with getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't think it's a particularly useful strategy. I also don't think that it's a particularly healthy strategy. Like if we, for example, look at Joe Louis. Now, Joe Louis, when he beat Max Schmeling, was 198 3/4 pounds. When he beat Buddy Bear, he was 201 3/4 pounds. And when he beat Jimmy Bivens, he was 203 pounds. And this covers a span of his career. You know, you could throw a hoop around it, and it's all roughly the same weight, give or take. What's that? 5 pounds. And if we look at Muhammad Ali, then again, Ali was 6'3", you know, good size, same size as Alexander Usyk, actually. He was 206 pounds when he beat Sonny Liston. After his layoff, forced layoff, of course, he was banned from boxing for a while. He came back and fought Frazier, and he weighed 215. When he fought Foreman, he was 216 and a half. And when he fought Holmes, he was 217. And so there's, a long time period. So what's that? That's from 1964 to 1978, something like that. And included a long layoff. And there is it's 11 pounds, right? If we, for example, then look at modern day fighters, we even look at, fighters who are very muscular, who don't appear to be carrying much in the way of fat on them. Daniel Dubois, 239, 245, slightly creeping up. Anthony Joshua has gone from 238 in some of his earlier fights. He was 252 the day that Dubois beat him. So what's that? 10, 12, 14 pounds? A stone, right? But then there are some other boxers who seem to be on this never-ending growth ladder. Maybe Martin Bakole isn't a good example, but I'm going to start with him anyhow. When he fought Tony Yoka, he weighed 275. That's a big man, right? 275. I mean, 280 pounds is 20 stone for those who think in the old money. Well, when he fought Anderson, he was 284. So that's 9 pounds difference. And by the time he was rolled out to face Parker, he weighed 310 pounds, which raises a very interesting thing. I understand he wasn't in camp. I understand he wasn't in shape. But how can a professional athlete allow himself to go from a fighting weight of 284 versus Anderson to 310 in a relatively short period of time? Now, I'm prone to gaining weight. I have a biomechanical handicap. I can't stop my hand going to my pie hole when I'm watching TV in the evening. But I'm not a professional athlete. I'm also very much the wrong side of 40, 50, and 60. These guys are professional athletes. would you expect your favorite hockey player, NFL footballer, soccer player to gain 3 or 4 stone during the off season? They might gain a bit. You know, like when the NHL starts its preseason training camp, there's a few, you know, bits of belly showing. But the boys have had a long golf season followed by, you know, long sessions at the 19th hole. But we're not talking of 20, 30, 40 pound weight gain. I mean, if you're a professional athlete, do you not owe it to yourself, really, which is, you know, that's what it's all about. You owe it to yourself, but also to your team and to your fans to stay in something approximating match condition. Joseph Parker. Now, when Joseph Parker fought Anthony Joshua, he was 236. Now, I'm not saying Parker's gotten fat, but Parker's put on a lot of weight. He was 267 when he faced Bacoli. He was 247 in his previous fight. So he'd gained 20 pounds in between one fight to the other. Now that might be to give him more punch resistance or power or something, but I'm asking the question, do we think this is all necessary? You know, was Joe Louis undergunned when Joe Louis knocked out Buddy Bear? Does anybody truly think that Joe Louis, when he knocked out Buddy Bear, couldn't have knocked out any person walking on the planet today? And then, of course, Tyson Fury, who is now retired. So, you know, I made much of Tyson Fury in my initial video. But Tyson Fury, when he beat Vlad, which is undoubtedly his best performance, he was able to move, he was able to feint, he showed lots of very good stuff. He was 247. He was 262 against Usyk. And all that extra weight has to be carried. But he also had allowed himself to be walking around at a much heavier weight, which means that you've got to go into a training camp, which has to be more like a fat camp, to lose that weight before you can start actually, you know, developing or I guess fine-tuning your skills before the fight that you're preparing for. So I'm wondering, I'm asking it as a question really, why do heavyweight boxers in particular, but I suppose it applies to lower weights as well. Somebody told me the other day that Hamza Shiraz walks around at 200. He's fighting at 160? Now 160 probably is too low for him to be fighting at, to be honest. But you know, I wonder what Bivol and Beterbiev walk around at. I don't know. I mean, it's a question. But it seems to me that boxers, they on this roller coaster of weight gain and weight loss, which, I mean, dietitians and those sort of folks who profess to know about this will tell us that, you know, this, you know, yo-yo, I think that's the word, isn't it? This yo-yo weight gain and loss isn't good for us. So I'm wondering, these people are professional athletes. It's like your only job, you know, until you retire, is to stay in shape. And I'm wondering why they don't. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that everybody has to come into the ring looking like Ken Norton or, you know, a bodybuilder. In fact, Angelo Dundee, Muhammad Ali's trainer for all but 2 of his fights, said that a bit of fat on a boxer isn't a bad thing. You know, sort of you know, you don't have to be ripped. You know, you could carry a little bit of cushioning. It's not a bodybuilding competition. I mean, look at Larry Holmes, the great Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was never going to win a Body Beautiful competition, but his weight was always in and around the right sort of area. Right? And so I don't really understand why this is. And I'm wondering, and maybe there's professional boxers out there who can tell me. In fact, I'll have to ask my friend Max. Max, let me know. Do boxers still do road work? Because if you're out there running every day as part of your training regime, it's going to be hard carry that much extra weight. Like, it's going to be hard on your knees, on your hips, on your ankles, on your feet. And you're probably not going to carry that weight because you're going to be out there pounding the pavement. And I just don't think that we're in a good space where trainers must be encouraging their fighters to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. When the history tells us that you don't need to be very, very, very heavy. Exhibit 1 would be Alexander Usyk. 6'3", always in and roughly around the same weight. He's moved up steadily from cruiser to heavy, and he's within a pound or two every time of a target weight. Boom, that's his weight. And if you look at pictures of Alexander Usyk when he's not in training, he doesn't look that much different. He always looks, to be perfectly honest, like he could take off his jacket, put on a pair of gloves, and get in and box. In fact, when he was there, I think watching the Joe Parker fight, sitting next to AJ, he looked like he was in match shape. He looked like he was ready to get into the ring, and that's probably tells us what we should be learning, is that boxers don't need to be that big. And I think that when we see boxers struggling with stamina issues, then we're kind of left with that conclusion that they're too bloody heavy. I mean, look at Zhilei Zhang. I mean, Zhilei Zhang, he's known as like a 4-round fighter. He's gassed by the halfway mark. Do you think if he was 48 pounds lighter, that he would actually have a little bit more oomph in the tank? I don't know. What do you all think? Let me know. And please like, please share, please subscribe. Have a fabulous day. See you on the next video. Should be back to my regular session with James tomorrow, but there may be a surprise. There's talk of maybe doing a panel, so we'll have to see. Keep tuned to this station, as they used to say back in the day. Thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it as always. Thank you for your time. Have a great one. Bye-bye.